Hey guys, how's it going? We're going to talk about ReCore right now, alright? Now this is an interesting game because I think a lot of us initially were very interested in that first trailer that they showed. You know, it was pretty cool. They showed this young girl walking through this desert with this dog, and this dog was connected by this weird blue orb of energy. And they got attacked, they got ambushed, and eventually the dog sacrificed its life, more or less, to save the girl so that she wouldn't die. And it really kind of created this sort of cool emotional connection between that you know, whatever that creature was and the girl who's the protagonist, right? And it showed her picking up the orb and then putting it into a different sort of, I guess you can call them machines. And the machine came to life, and the soul that was integrated into the machine dog was transferred into this machine big robot or mech. So that initially sort of, it was interesting because it created this bond, sort of. And I think a lot of us, when we saw that first trailer, we were sort of expecting this cool story where you're going to have this bond with this creature, whatever you want to call it. And then that was going to sort of be transferred. It would have a cool gameplay dynamic where you can transfer the soul into different sorts of machines and things around. That would create different and unique gameplay experiences as you go on through your campaign. That is not ReCore at all, and that is a little bit disappointing to me because I stood in line for 2 hours to play this game. It was the most popular game at Microsoft's Xbox, you know, E3 2016 booth, and I stood in line for 2 hours to play the game. I was really interested, and I was really surprised at what I played because it was nothing like I was expecting. I don't think it's anything like you guys think. This is not a third-person sort of action shooter thing where it's cover-based and there's some platforming involved, where it's a little bit sort of like Uncharted or some Gears of War. In fact, it's not anything like that. This is a very arcade shooter where you walk around, you hold left trigger to lock onto an enemy. There's no cover at all. You just basically run around and strafe in circles and dodge the enemy attacks as they come in at you, like slow motion. You know those type of old school games where they're top down, you're flying the plane, you're trying to dodge the missiles and stuff like that. Think of it like that, but a third person shooter, but and 3D, of course. So I was like, wow, this is a type of arcade experience where you can jump really high and control where you move and stuff like that. This is not really a compelling emotional experience. At least it didn't give me that sense. And so I'm thinking here, I was expecting a story at least, or some sort of type of game where a narrative was like in your face and you were, really felt like an emotional connection between you and this orb, this soul that was injected into this orb, and you would learn about the history of the world that you're in, and that you would go on to these crazy different adventures, and it would be like this personal story, and there'd be full of twists and crazy turns and all these nice, beautiful locations. And it's just not like that. And that's sort of, it's disappointing to me. At the same time, I can say that what I played was interesting. I wouldn't necessarily call it fun. It wasn't really my cup of tea. Again, this is the type of game where you lock around, you sort of lock onto an enemy, and your character's running at like full speed as you're controlling their movement and things like that. Graphically, the game looks decent. It's not anything crazy. It's definitely nothing on the levels of that E3 CGI trailer that we saw. It's okay. Gameplay here is interesting because you have 4 different ammo types: blue, red, yellow, and white. And the enemies that come after you have 4 different types of, I guess we call them 4 different types of enemies, but really their health bars are what indicates what color that they are. So you'll see blue, yellow, white, red health bars. And the only way that you can do significant damage to these enemies is if you switch out your ammo to the correct color of the enemy. So an enemy comes in and he has a red health bar. Okay, gotta switch to the red ammo, and you just fire away. Okay, here's some yellow birds that are coming in. All right, gotta switch to the yellow ammo and start shooting them and things like that. Now, you can't just hold down the trigger indefinitely and get accurate shots. You do have to time your shots correctly, and burst fire is obviously the key here. You want to make sure that you're not just spraying and praying, because your reticle does go pretty huge for a hit distance, and your guns do have there's no ammo count, but what there is like a cooldown timer in a sense. So you have to be careful with the way you play, and I think that's the challenge of the shooting mechanics, is that there's no cover system. You have to dodge the enemy's incoming projectiles, but you do have to change out your ammo, and you do have to manage how much that weapon shoots, and and how much ammo that you utilize for that time, before the gun has to cool down, and the ammo has to basically not be swapped out but changed. So it's odd. It's a very odd experience. And I went online and I looked at this game, and I was my expectations for I sort of brought them down significantly, because this is a budget title. If you actually go on Amazon right now, the game's coming out in September, which is kind of crazy. I didn't think the game was going to be coming out that soon. I thought this was like a next year 2017 game. But the game's coming out in September for only $40. So it's crazy, because I went into this thinking it was a AAA experience, that I was going to go in there and there was going to be this great sort of cool story that was interesting. These graphics were going to be on a crazy unparalleled level with CGI like visuals and great character animations, and then we were going to go to these locations that were very interesting, very exotic, rural, tropical, and just had a lot of depth and interesting lore to them. But what this experience is a very much pick up and play arcade shooter, where you pretty much go around to these different levels. It's like level after level after level. You shoot some enemies, you move on. You shoot some enemies, and you move on. There are some sort of I guess platforming mechanics in the game. So you do have different gadgets that you'll get, and there are some platform mechanics a la like Uncharted, for example. But from what I played, I didn't experience any of those. There were a few where I had to jump on different platforms in a certain amount of time, because they would like fall down or they would like rise up. But that's very typical of old school game mechanics, and I was disappointed when I played ReCore, because of what I was expecting, and because not only did I didn't get what I was expecting or anything near what I was expecting, I got almost a completely different game. And the game that I played, I wasn't significantly interested in. I mean, I want to play the game just because I want to see whether or not that narrative is really going to try and tackle that emotional bond between that energy orb and this main protagonist. I want to see. I just don't know if they're going to do that, because they can have a narrative like that, but it can be also completely jarring, because the gameplay experience doesn't empower or embody the narrative. They don't go together well. You have this very arcadey gameplay experience, and then if you have this really serious emotional story, it doesn't really mix well. And so I'm interested to play it to see what they do with that narrative, because they do have an interesting dynamic here, and they do have great potential within that narrative to craft something extraordinary. But I just don't know if they're going to go that route, and I just don't know if it's going to be, I guess not watchable, but appropriate enough, considering the gameplay experience that they already have in the game. All right. So ReCore is, to be honest with you, an interesting game. It's nothing crazy. It's not what you're expecting at all. This is a very arcade shooter, like I said. The graphics are okay. They're to be honest, they're pretty subpar. They're nothing amazing. Lots of blocky objects and whatnot, and it doesn't look anything like the CGI trailer at all. But we'll see how what happens. I was about it. I was like, I kind of walked away and I kind of felt indifferent about it, and that kind of sucks because I was hoping to feel really pumped. And like I said, I waited 2 hours to play this game, but at least I waited 2 hours to play this game so I could tell you guys about my experience. Again, this is a budget title. This is only $40. So that being said, it's pretty much a pick up and play anyway. You know, if you're only spending $40 for the game, that's not a lot of money, considering that it is somewhere between the indie and AAA gameplay experiences. So you can pick it up for that reason. So it's one of Microsoft's. I don't know if it's coming to PC. I don't know if they mentioned that. I'm not exactly sure about that. But if it isn't, then this is one of Microsoft's very few Xbox One exclusives. So we'll see how it pans out. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys have any questions regarding ReCore at all, let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. And I will see you all later. Thanks.